Nigeria. Also, just keeping in mind, we had some interesting comments through about AMCON, just perhaps more further detail and solidifying the strategies going forward.
Well, as you know, the banking stocks continue to dominate on the bourse. We saw today banking stocks control about over 80% of trades done on the stock exchange. Also, this might also have been influenced by the news of AMCON coming out today, saying that the 9 rescued banks would have to be recapitalized before the end of first half of 2011. So this is positive news regarding the banking sector. We believe that sector will remain the bellwether sector of the Nigerian stock exchange, regardless of other sectors, other important sectors anyway. So this is positive news for us, especially regarding the news about AMCON.
Adetola, are there any concerns that we could see a flood in the market with bonds? Obviously, AMCON needs to raise 3 trillion naira, and we know that is far greater than the portions that we have seen being raised by the Nigerian government. Are there any concerns that perhaps yields will rise because there's just not going to be enough appetite, and of course enough investors out there to soak up the excess liquidity?
Well, in our opinion, we expect that these bonds will be held by the respective banks, i.e., if a bank has 100 billion of non-performing loans, for example, and it sells those loans to AMCON, AMCON issues a bond to that bank with respect to the amount agreed for the purchase of the non-performing loans. Now, this bond is expected to sit on the bank's balance sheet and not, it's actually supposed to be a yield asset for the banks, not to be traded. And also we expect that the central bank, maybe in the review of the prudential guidelines, will allow some of these bonds to probably contribute towards capital adequacy ratio computation for this bank. So we do not see any concern here regarding the banks glutting the market, and because we do not expect the banks to actually trade in these bonds in the fixed income markets.
Adetola, would you be buying banks at this point? It seems that a lot has been priced in, a lot of speculation regarding the health of the banks and how many returns we can see, how we can see the returns changing in 2011. It seems that most investors are embarking on sector rotation. Are you doing the same?
Well, yes, banks, like I mentioned earlier, banks will remain the bellwether sector of the Nigerian bourse. There are still a handful of banks, regardless of how private prices have moved in the last couple of weeks. There's still a handful of banks out there with very healthy valuation, a single-digit PE and less than 1 times forward price-to-book ratios that are good for investors. So, of course, we'll be buying banks, and we have to bear in mind that following the cleansing of the sector and the CBN's reform of the sector, we expect that by 2011, banks will actually return to real profitability, not the type we've been seeing this year, which has actually been driven largely by write-backs and decline in provision. So by 2011, we expect banks to return to full operations and full profitability. So, of course, we'll be buying banks.
Okay, which banks will you be buying?
Well, we like Sterling Bank, not a very often mentioned bank in Nigeria, small, a niche player, we believe. We like Zenith Bank. We have a neutral, we have a watch on United Bank for Africa, UBA, and a handful of other banks like that.
Let's touch on the Flourmills raising of a bond worth 37.5 billion naira. Your view on this? Clearly, the uptake relatively good. What about other corporates coming to the fore and raising bonds and raising capital in the Nigerian market? It seems that investors out there have quite a lot of option right now.
Well, the Flourmills bond actually is a very good development for Nigeria. If you observe, last year, we only had about 1 corporate bond, which was the GT Bank bond that closed in December 2009. This year, we've had 3, i.e. UBA bond, UAC Properties Development Company bond, and now the Flourmills bond. So next year, in our outlook, we actually look forward to a more robust growth in the fixed income corporate side of the bond market in Nigeria. We actually also believe that Nigeria might see the first securitization asset-backed bond coming to the market probably before the end of this year or maybe Q1 next year. So ultimately, this is the way to go for the Nigerian fixed income market, i.e. the corporate side of the bond market growing. So all in all, the Flourmills bonds is a good thing because this is actually a way for corporates to finance long-term growth with long-term funds. And principally, we have in the universe of investors in Nigeria, you have the pension funds who are actually sitting on long-term money are available to corporates that meet the investment criteria of the Pension Commission.
Adetola, very quickly, looking at 2011, what are your prospects? What kind of returns are you expecting for the NSE All Share?
Well, in 2011, like we mentioned this year, we believe the bourse is actually trading at the appropriate levels, given the kind of valuations we're seeing in the market at present. So in 2011, we believe a lot of activities in the market will be hinged on political stability. So we actually place in our strategy, we place a lot of premium on the outcome of the 2011 presidential elections in Nigeria. So once we are able to achieve the political stability we expect to see an increase in FDIs to Nigeria. If you observe this year, we've seen a lot of outflow in foreign exchange in Nigeria. However, we expect a reversal in 2011 once we have political stability and once we have the banking sector, which is actually one of the key drivers of the Nigerian stock exchange and the economy at large. We expect these sort of things to give us a positive outlook for the overall economy in 2011.